So I've been silent for a couple of days, and in this video we're going to talk about why. I'm going to talk about the current state of P3d, proof of weekends, and I'm going to tell you the answer that some of you may be wondering, and that is, did I sell? I'm going to give you a quick recap of FOMO recap and what would be considered a community catastrophe, and we're going to talk about that in more details. I'm going to talk about the outlook on this P3d, Fomo3d, game 3D, economic 3D space. What do I think about it? And toward the end of the video, I'm going to talk to you about my plans, my future plans in crypto. Now, here's the thing that I want to go ahead and tell you up front. This is going to be a little bit of a lengthy video, but let's go ahead and get started. So where have I been at for the past few days? Well, I've actually had some personal matters. I was actually not away from home, and I was in an area that's extremely rural. I didn't actually have great computer access, but I did make it a point to participate in quick FOMO, the short Fomo3d, and I was there and I participated, and I will talk about that here in a moment, but that's the main reason that you haven't heard from me. I have been able to use my phone, and although I don't get a great signal, I could see Discord from time to time, and I could read through it. And let's just get right down into it. Let's talk about what's going on. So, quick FOMO launched. That's long. For some reason it's showing loading. I don't know what that is. Okay, I don't know why it's currently just showing loading. Maybe to come up here in a moment. I don't have my MetaMask open. I don't know if that has anything to do with it or what. But let's just talk a bit about it for a minute. First of all, there's about, those of you that have participated, there's about, that night, it was incredible. Some of the things that I said in a previous video, some of my concerns actually happened. And I was accused of being negative in that video by one of my commenters, which is okay. Look, I appreciate your support, but I really, if you hate on me, so what? I mean, it is what it is. I've been around a long time. I got to tell you, one of the things that I think is most disconcerting to me, yeah, the crypto community, the YouTube space, commenters can choose to be nasty, but I'm always shocked at how much it affects some of these YouTubers, and it always kind of disappoints me when they seem like they just really take it to heart a little bit. Anybody can put whatever, in comments, nameless, faceless comments. It is what it is. So you just can't let that get to you. So I saw a lot going on in Discord, and I saw, a lot of people getting upset about what happened with Fomo3d, and I talked about in one of my previous videos. I said, look, I'm concerned that this could affect the ETH network. I'm concerned that we might not even see ROI. It could happen so fast. I mean, already the previous, and they ended up there was a complaint that they didn't lay the rules out well enough, and you could argue that, maybe it was more organic. You could make an argument both ways why they maybe shouldn't have, and I think the biggest reason they probably didn't lay out the rules last minute, I think they were making adjustments to the contract, what people don't understand is they're trying to hit a moving target as far as timer adjustments and things like that. We'll get to that a little later in this video. I want to talk about what I think they're trying to do. And I've only recently today on my drive home, I had a several hours drive to get back to my house where I'm at now, and I was thinking about this, and I was like, what are they ultimately trying to do? Because there's a lot of verbiage that always kind of doesn't sit well with me, and then it just kind of clicked with me. I was like, wow, this is at least, I don't know if they ever accomplish it, but what they're attempting is kind of interesting nonetheless. So we'll get to that here in a moment. But the bottom line is, I don't know why this isn't loading, but the bottom line is they end up with a ICO phase that was 60 seconds long. I had a buddy of mine who's in FOMO. He and I were on the phone together, and I was actually using a public Wi-Fi, as crazy as that is. I was using a public Wi-Fi, and I didn't even know if I would get through. He has super fast internet where he's at, crazy fast internet. And we were just hoping we could get through. And every key resets to a 5-minute timer, every purchase, and the keys go up very, very fast. And so it scales fast. And I was already concerned we might not see a return. And I said that in one of my previous videos. Look, we might not see a return. I will tell you that I did see a return. I got in with 1 ETH. I sent, get this, 2,000 GUI for gas. 2,000. So P3d, ETH, I sent 1 ETH, which was about, what, $450, $60, something like that. and $300 worth of gas for one transaction. But I ended up earning about $900 when the round ended. So I came out a little bit ahead. My buddy with his super fast internet, I thought we were both doing 2,000 GUI transaction, but his transaction went through behind me by a few seconds. I got I think if I remember right, I had 2.6 keys and he had 1.1 or 1.2 or something. He sent 500 gas instead of 2,000, and it took a while for his to confirm. I guess according to each gas station, at one point we hit 10,000 gas, and we kind of locked up the ETH network, and Etherscan went down for a while, which was incredible. I mean, it was incredible. The real FOMO was created, that was for sure. And by the way, my buddy did not get a return. I mean, he came up, he got about 50% back, or maybe a little more, a little less. I'm not sure exactly. I haven't talked to him. We didn't stay on the phone the whole time. But so in Discord, after it was all over with, people were upset, and it was amazing. I mean, here's the thing that blows my mind about humans, and it is what it is, but humans do not take personal responsibility. Let's come over here to Long, because I'm going to talk about this in a minute. Humans do not take personal responsibility. People, they want to blame people for their losses. First of all, it's amazing that people think, I mean, it's a game. It is gambling. It is gambling. It's only better than a coin flip because you at least have some things that are inside of your control. So, I mean, it is gambling, but, you know, and it is a game. But people were upset because, you know, they didn't see these crazy returns, and, you know, it happened too fast, and this happened, and that happened. But there was an announcement made beforehand. There were several announcements made beforehand. Several people were in the Discord. The people were so excited before the launch. Afterwards, everybody was all upset. But they saw the rules in Discord. As soon as I saw the rules, I thought, oh, this is not good for trying to get a return. I mean, as soon as I saw them, I almost did not even try. And I thought, you know what? And by the way, I was going to go in, if I could, I was going to go in with up to 10 ETH. And I was like, when I saw the rules, I was like, I'm just going to throw 1 ETH as a flyer and just see what happens. And that was my personal decision. And, you know, my buddy of mine, he was like, well, I took about $200 or $300 haircut on this one, but, you know, it was worth a shot to see what was going to happen. And it was amazing just to see people get upset. I mean, like, people, if we're ever going to elevate ourselves as a community, we have to take personal responsibility for our decisions. Well, the devs should have done this, the devs should have done that, the devs should. Nobody owed us anything. It was up to us to take a chance, take a flyer, see what it is. I mean, that's what it is. No one's if you pulled money out that you couldn't afford to lose, if you pulled out, you know, out of your 401k, your IRA, you mortgaged a house, to credit cards, whatever. I don't know what to tell you. That's unfortunate, but it was not prudent. It was a game. It's not even presented like an investment. It's not even a cryptocurrency. It is a game. So people got so upset about it. But here's what's fascinating. So people are like, oh, it stinks, it sucks, blah, blah, blah. Interestingly enough, the current state of Fomo3d short is awesome. It's working exactly as intended, it looks like. Now, I don't know if it'll stay popular. I don't know if people will continue to love it. And I hate that's not coming up right now. I wonder if I can pull it up on my Trust wallet. But I can tell you, I'm trying to pull it up on my phone just so I can maybe give you a bit of an update on what's going on. Oh, it's coming up on my phone, I think. But I can tell you that now somebody did win. Two really interesting things happened. Someone won the first round. Oh, see, it's working right here. I don't know why. Okay, perfect. I can at least give you an update on my phone. Two really fascinating things happened. Sorry, I don't know why that's not coming up here. Two really fascinating things happened. First of all, somebody won the main pot within a few, like I think it said 199 minutes. So it wasn't even, what, just over 3 hours? So crazy. Someone won $1 million in just over 3 hours, 1 point something million dollars. However, after that, I think the next round I heard in Discord was 300 and something ETH at the most. And now we end up with rounds that are like 40 ETH, 50, up to 80 ETH. And it's really mostly, I mean, I actually, in a current round now, I bought a key toward the beginning of the round. And I don't know how early I was. My key was 0.17, and I just wanted to see if I could get a return. Right now, I'm currently not getting a return. Sorry, my sinuses are draining. Right now, I'm currently not. It looks like I've gotten about $18 back on a key that I think was about $56 or something like that. So we'll see. I don't think I'm going to give full return on that, but it's okay. I just bought one key, wanted to see what would happen. I'm hearing that some people are getting a return if they can get in during the ICO phase. But we'll get to that in a moment. That's going to change. That's going to vary. It depends on how many people are playing the game, whether anyone can get a return on here at all. And I think that's, I think that's to be expected. And I want to talk more about that in a moment, because I think one of the things the devs are trying to do is they're trying to hit a moving target. And you're never going to make everybody happy. And I don't actually think they're ever going to be able to successfully hit this moving target long term. I think they'll be a victim of their own success, but I'll get more into that in a minute. So let's just recap. When Fomo3d short went down, it ran into all sorts of tech issues. But it did end up launching, and it did work. The community at large hated it. They're looking to make, honestly, there is a prevalence in the community that's like, oh, we just want to find some way to make solid passive income. But that already exists. It's called P3d, proof of weekends. Just own that. And all the devs need to do is keep playing games that people want to play. I find that the devs are trying to cater strictly to the entire P3d community. There are P3d community members playing FOMO. I mean, this is a P3d community person, most likely. This is just conjecture. The people who are playing FOMO short currently, who's exit scamming on there? Kelly is exit scamming. Sorry, my sinuses are draining. But whoever Kelly is, and before now it was Snake Burrow. Whoever those people are, I'm willing to bet there's someone in the P3d community. And I could be wrong, but most likely we're currently on round 8, by the way. It'd be interesting to see how many rounds this goes and how it goes long term. The current pot's about $22,000. This is exactly how FOMO short was designed. It was supposed to be smaller pots, quicker rounds, and it was supposed to, end relatively quick. And this particular pot, by the way, has been going slow. It's been going several hours. And key scaling's increased, and it's interesting. I like it. People want to, here's the thing. There's so many people who did not see a return, most likely, or at least, some people saw a big return. There are a lot of people who didn't see a return. And people are in Discord offering all these like, well, what if the ICO phase was longer? And as someone said, let's let everyone who get into the ICO that wants to get into an ICO, and then let the whales battle for the pot. Well, what they don't realize is there's a law of economics. At some point, the pot is, if everybody got into an ICO phase that wanted to, everyone who wanted to earn a reward got in, and they all paid the exact same price for keys, that pot could be huge. Now the question is, how many whales actually are going to want to ultimately compete for that pot? And people are going to argue, well, it depends on how keys go up. But you don't understand, like, if key prices are low and there's not a lot of buyers of keys, then there's no rewards. And so it's just very fascinating that Fomo3d short, I'm looking at this, Fomo3d short, it happens, people say that it scaled too fast. And I would agree. I didn't necessarily love it, but I think that the devs are trying to, figure out what's going to work. And I don't think whenever they hit that middle ground, like I suggested in one of my last videos, they should come out with F3d medium, where it doesn't go on. This is going to go on forever. And it's going to be fascinating to see how it eventually, we got, what, $10 million in here? It's going to be interesting to see. This is big enough that it could attract a bunch of whales competing for this. So there may be a lot of people seeing a return on this, but there will still be a lot of people eventually that lose. And here's what I've realized. It's a zero-sum game, obviously. And with it being a zero-sum game, here's what it means, that basically, if it was a straight lottery, there's one winner. So if there's $100,000 put into lottery, one person wins it, there could be up to 100,000. There would be 100,000 ticket buyers. Now some people may buy multiple tickets, but 100,000 ticket buyers who lost. So the winner got the entire pot. Now, what Fomo3d attempts to do is to give a little bit back to the people who decided to buy earlier, like the people who bought the tickets earlier, in this case the keys. We'll make money off everybody else buying keys. But there's a lot of math to figure out. You've kind of got to figure out about how many people are going to be buying keys. The pot's got to be big enough that you get enough people who want to keep buying that more people get returns on their keys. And pretty solid goal is to get 50% losers, 50% winners. 50% losers, 50% winners. Meaning 50% of people lose some money, 50% of the people make some money back. Now you got two ends of that spectrum. You got people on the loser side who lost a lot of money. You got people on the winner side who, won a lot of money in returns outside of the actual winner, last key buyer. And I think what the devs are attempting to do is to get the number of individual winners larger than the number of individual losers. But there will always be losers. And now that is fascinating. And that's what the part that I thought about today. I thought, so is there a way? And I think there might be, at least for now, at the current size of the community. I think there could be a way, the current size of the community, where they could do a game in the middle, where it would scale a little faster, and maybe the game wouldn't last for hours, but it would go on for days. I think this could potentially go on for months, but I don't think we know yet. I can tell you a lot of people thought Fomo short was gonna last into days and weeks, and it didn't make it into hours. In fact, my buddy said, I said, this will be over before tomorrow morning when we wake up. And he's like, oh, no. This is going to be going up Monday morning and next Sunday. And I was like, we'll see. I'm watching the key scale pretty fast. I mean, I can't imagine there's that many people willing to spend $800 for $1 million pot. I mean, at some point, you got to stop spending money. And he's like, no, I think it's going to keep going. It's going to keep going. And it was like, okay, we'll see. And it happened to end around midnight Eastern time, I think, 12:30 or so. I think is when it ended. I don't know. I was asleep. But I do think that there's a medium ground in there where key scaling goes up a little bit faster so it ends. Because this is almost dead. Like, if I don't know, I think 16,000, 13,000 keys or something. But I end up getting, $5 a day. At the height, I was getting like $1,200 an hour. That lasted for a few hours. But, $300 an hour. And then all of a sudden it just stopped. Dividends or returns just dried up, stopped. And they're still coming in. And I think this is going for a long time. I'll probably end up eventually getting my return. Eventually. Now, if I wanted to make money, there's a lot of better places to make money. Unless they can make this dead phase shorter. And I think the key to that is increased scaling. Get to $1 million pot, but increase scaling. Not as fast as Fomo short, but faster than they're doing here. And keep the rounds at either 5 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever. Or maybe, do something different with the timer other than a 24-hour timer, in my opinion. I love the 5-minute timer on short. Love it. And every key purchase resets at 5 minutes. I love that. And I think that would be an interesting model just to keep that in place and speed up key scaling a little bit. But the devs are going to figure something out. And they're working on a way to perfect this game. Here's the problem. If they came out with F3d medium and it really did go mainstream and lots of people started playing it. I mean, I think someone said there's 3,000 individual addresses playing Fomo3d long. So if all of a sudden that went to 30,000, first of all, this pot would be way bigger. The game would last a lot longer and the dead space would be a lot bigger as well. The initial would be crazy. But if they added a F3d medium, then all of a sudden you could run into the same thing. The more people there are, the shorter, the quicker you get to this 34,000 key space. 34 million key space. When this number started hitting like 15 million, I noticed my personal keys, and I put a good bit in here and reinvested a good bit. I saw it just drastically start to slow down. So the argument is, we would get more divs or it would come in faster. No, maybe not. You would get more in the beginning. Yes, for sure. That would happen. There would be some bigger winners. Here's what would happen. On the current standard, most likely, there would be bigger winners in the short term, but there's a lot more players. So on a percentage basis, the ultimate winners and losers would probably be about the same. And so what I'm ultimately getting at is whatever the devs come up with, as it grows, I don't know that the current, if they hit a good, someone said, that happy medium, so to speak. If they came up with a perfect F3d medium game, I don't know if it would still be that perfect feel. And I think the perfect game is a game where early key buyers who want to get in can get in and have a reasonable good shot of coming out a winner. Meaning, okay, so Fomo3d short is a good example. Earlier today, I saw someone saying they were getting, good returns on 2 and 3 keys. As long as they got 2 to 3 keys and they got in ICO right after, they were getting good returns. Well, if everybody starts doing that, it becomes very difficult for you to be the one to get 2 to 3 keys. Just like it was difficult on the first night. I mean, the short game just couldn't handle it. You would almost have to find a way to limit participants if that was the case. But I think there's a hybrid that can kind of work, and I think that's running multiple games. I mean, imagine coming out with like an F3D medium, because this F3D long is crazy. Maybe do one of these a year. I don't know. It depends on how long it ultimately lasts. But imagine doing, let's just say it makes it 3 months. I don't know. We'll see. Well, if that's the case, maybe you run an F3D long every quarter. So F3D long summer, F3D long fall, F3D long winter, maybe. Or Q1, Q2, quarter 1, quarter 2, whatever. Or maybe there's a medium version that you can get to last for a couple of weeks. Maybe you launch new one every single month. Even if the first one's not finished, maybe the January version is not finished, you start one in March. And if the March one isn't finished, you start one in, you keep it running. And maybe, so you have a different UI, where it's a drop-down menu or whatever, and you can click on whatever month you wanted to see what you're doing, to buy keys or whatever, or to compete for the pot. But the reality is, the devs are really doing a great job. And I mean, I've seen a lot of hate for the devs. I think overall they're doing a great job. What they're doing in this space is so cutting edge and so interesting. Really and truly, I want them to master a version. Maybe Fomo long is great. I don't love it. I don't love this long dead space. But maybe it's worth it to keep it in, because it's going to be fast. It's going to be, if nothing else, it'll be fun to watch once they actually starts getting down that last hours and they're actually competing for this pot. It'll be at least fun to watch. But ultimately, what they're trying to do is to have more winners than losers. More net winners, meaning 65% of people see a return. If they ever can figure out a way to get to that space, and then I think if it's a longer game, if it runs for weeks at a time, then maybe you run a game a month or whatever. You run multiple concurrent games. And it's easy enough to kind of let these games go or just not highlight them. And maybe they're underground and people who are aware of them can play them and win the ETH. It doesn't matter. It just adds to the ecosystem. Who knows? But what I see here is development. I mean, this is cutting edge stuff. However, once they master the FOMO game, they really need to move on, I think, to something else. And maybe it's games and other games, and I've talked about ideas for other games in another video, some version of a paper, rock, scissors game. And someone actually mentioned a game, this is cool. Someone mentioned a paper, rock, scissors game, but they challenged someone, you had to make a small purchase to their masternode. That seemed very unique and interesting. I don't even know if that's possible. But outside of the game space, I think the very next thing they need to be looking at is marketplaces. Now, they've talked about some sort of third-party exchanges. That's awesome. But I think they need to look at market spaces. And by the way, in a minute, I'm going to start talking to you about what I did, and I'm going to tell you about whether I sold or not. And I'm going to talk about my future crypto plans. But overall, I want to be clear that I like what they're doing, and I'm just kind of verbalizing some of the ideas. And I would love to hear your thoughts down below, whether you agree or disagree with what I'm saying. But ultimately, what I would like to see is marketplaces. So yes, it's fine if they want to do exchanges. I think that would be cool. I think if you could transfer, if it was possible to transfer P3d tokens directly for Ethereum or Bitcoin, and that fee go back to P3d, whether it's a 3%, 5% fee, go back to P3d holders, I think that would be fascinating. I also think there's, third-party exchanges that could be created for things like, or third-party marketplaces for things like games and gaming skins. That's a big deal. Crypto is already, the target market for crypto is already young males under 30. That is 90+% of the market. Whether you like it or hate it, it just is what it is. And by the way, I'm not even in that category, but it's actually probably under 35, and I'm still not in that category. 90% is under 35. But here's what's interesting though. That market is also a great market for the gaming community. The Counter-Strike games and stuff like that, the World of Warcraft and that sort of thing. Well, there's already some third-party exchanges out there where you can sell weapons and items and skins and different things for various games. Well, imagine if they were doing that with an exchange, but you paid or you sold somehow with P3d tokens. And if that occurred, or maybe if they figured out the Bitcoin to P3d, then maybe you could do that. But if the idea was it would be a P3d exchange, or it would be an exchange by Team Just, and there would always be a 3% or 5% fee, and that fee, whatever's standard in the marketplace, I'm not really sure, that fee went back to the P3d holders. That's an idea. So they could always do typical exchanges, and they could add more coins potentially. And I say that like it's easy. I mean, this isn't nothing easy to create, but it would be fascinating if it's possible to be able to create it. And then marketplaces would be interesting. And I'm just looking at getting out of the sort of a gambling space. I think gaming is interesting. I just think it would, for longevity, it would be interesting to get out just outside of that gaming space. But I still think there's room to, perfect Fomo3d and then come up with another 2 or 3 games that people like to play. And the whole ecosystem, this whole thing's fascinating. Here's the most interesting thing that they're doing, which I think people are missing this by a mile. There's all this talk about universal basic income. There's all this talk about wealth redistribution. By the way, 2 terms I hate. I think they're absolutely ridiculous. They don't work. By the way, capitalism struggles to work as well, but I'm a capitalist. And the only reason capitalism doesn't work is the same reason that socialism doesn't work. It's because authoritarian individuals, the people responsible for managing it, cause it to go awry. So the more you can get central planners out of the way, which is what I like about blockchain technology, is you don't need a central planner screwing things up. The more you can get the central planners or the central governors out of the way, the more level, even playing field you have for the most people. Capitalism, by definition, does that. The only problem with capitalism is you end up with crony capitalism, because you still have a government that manages capitalism, and there's always people looking to, somehow game the system for their advantage. And now you get away from free market economics and you get back into political economics. The problem with socialism is it is 100% political economics. So socialism works in theory, but in order to make it actually work, if I win, I'll put the pot in P3d divs. Yeah, sure. I was looking at this name here. The challenge is, in order for socialism to work, you would literally need to you would have to have someone who's like a benevolent dictator, basically, that would not be corrupted by power or authority and be have more integrity than probably just about anyone on planet Earth, and that just hasn't ever worked long term in practice. And by the way, it's the same reason that same challenge again is the challenge with capitalism. But the more you can create a free market environment where individuals are responsible for their own actions and there's less central governance of any kind, the better off you're going to be. However, here's what's interesting about P3d and Fomo3d. Most people don't like socialism or communism because they don't want to be forced to make a decision. But what Fomo3d and P3d and the whole 3D ecosystem is doing, which is so amazing, is they're creating incentivized wealth redistribution. In other words, if F3D was to work perfectly, the idea is you set it up in such a way that enough key buyers, quote unquote, ideally the little people, are here earning rewards as enough whales. And you got to have, people think that bigger the pot, all the whales are going to fight. No, bigger the pot, you have less people who can afford to fight. But it needs to be big enough that people are spending enough money and they're fighting, and it needs to be a long, drawn-out fight, ideally. They are voluntarily competing, gambling. So by that definition, you would hope it's all expendable income. They're voluntarily fighting, competing for a win. And of the whales, most will lose, but they're voluntarily giving back to the ecosystem in rewards. So the key holders, ideally, are winning. It is literally a voluntary, if it was created perfectly, a lot of key holders would win, more than 50%, and the whales would fight for the pot. But you got to get the math just right. Key scaling has got to work just right. The timer's got to be just right. ICO phase has got to be just right. The pot size has got to be just right. And you can't, people are like, why don't we make the pot size bigger and the ICO phase faster? Well, guys, you can't take $1 and pull 50 cents out of it 3 times. You've got to figure, it's a balancing act. And the devs are doing a great job trying to figure it out. And who knows if they'll figure it out perfectly. But I was like, wow, this is very interesting. And then they're literally creating an incentivized wealth distribution system, or wealth redistribution system, but it's voluntary. No one's making them do it. They're choosing to do it. Instead of the casino, typically, the way it would work in a typical casino, you got some mega mogul or mega company, mega whale, creating a system, and the whales profit off each other. The big winners and the little players all, I guess, feed into the big whale, the mega corporation. I don't have a problem with that as long as it's, free and fair and people choose to do whatever they want to do with their own money. This just ticked down to 22 hours. That's fascinating. I've seen that one other time so far. I think it's happened 3 or 4 times, but that's the second time I've seen it. That's fascinating. So what the team just is attempting to do is very revolutionary. Like, I don't know that it's ever occurred in the history of mankind. I mean, it's really, the implications to this could be far-reaching potentially. And this is major conjecture in the future, but if I've got their cause correct, what they're doing is incredibly noble and extremely fascinating on a socio-economic level. And when you come over here to P3d and you understand P3d, by the way, okay, let's go here real quick. So this is what happened. 6 hours. This is the build up to FOMO short, build up, and then people took profit, then it built up again. What day was it? I think we were over. I think this is going all the way up to this is after FOMO short. People were upset, and people were cashing out, and it just dropped. Now, if you look at the 1 hour chart, it looks horrible. But I'm going to get back in a minute to what I think about all this in a moment when I start talking about future plans, current state. So what they're attempting to do, P3d in and of itself is very similar in the fact of, if you hold the token, you're making money this whole time. As it goes up, you're making 10% on every buy, every sell the entire time. And so arguably, the whales, as they make money, they're cashing out. And as they cash out, they're paying a 10% fee. And that goes back as dividends to all the holders. And we just saw that the holders tend to be the minnows. In some cases, currently in the current ecosystem, I think that's fair to say that the new people getting in who haven't had a big return are their current holders. And there's a great proof of this, and I want to talk about this. Current YouTubers, listen. FatFIAM, Crypto Yardy, all these guys sold. P3d Heme sold. A lot of people out there sold. And they sold, and now people are like, well, FatFIAM wasn't a minnow, he was the whale. He was the whale, but he was a minnow whale. Because when they saw a big enough return, they had to quote-unquote take profit. Quote-unquote take profit. And this is what's taught in trading. And currently, anyone sub 35 for sure, and I don't know that I don't think FatFIAM's that young, and Crypto Yardy might not be either, but you're used to the trading, to day trading, to crypto trading, that space. Despite the fact that trading is a losing proposition, day trading is a losing proposition for most people, I'm going to go ahead and throw this out there. I want someone to find me one successful trader who's traded over their lifetime and has day traded one marketplace, as in crypto. They only traded crypto, or they only traded, stocks, or they only, as in not stocks, they only traded options, or they only traded, standard, stocks, or they only traded, whatever, options, or they only traded futures contracts, or they only traded, in other words, they're not a macro trader. They're not trading Forex and stocks, and you can find those guys, that they exist, that are macro traders. But the guy who's in and out of trades every single day, day trading, trying to pick tops, picks bottoms, technical analysis, I don't believe you can find me one who has done it multi-decades. Plenty of people have been able to do it successfully over a year, 2 year, 5 year, 10 year period. The best maybe 10 years. But you can't find me one person. Again, we're not talking about a guy who traded across the globe in global markets, who traded, 1 year he was focusing on the currencies markets. Someone like Peter Lynch. Peter Lynch was a macro trader. He was a trader. He didn't buy and hold solely, like he traded a lot, but he didn't do just short-term trades. He also did week trades and day trades and swing trades. I think he did a lot of different trades. But the key was he traded multiple markets. He traded where he saw opportunity. He traded in gold and precious metal markets for a season, or the bond market for a season, or meaning that he looked across the spectrum. You find me one person who just focused on Forex or just focused on crypto, just one. That's all he did. You can find me people like George Soros who made a mint in crypto. In Forex, but that was basically one trade, one certain type of season. George Soros is a macro trader across macro markets. So now that I've said that and I've made my case for not being a trader, I love when I hear people like, I could make more than that trading. You could make more than that at the poker table on some days too. I mean, it just is what it is. But people always will want to take profits, whether they're trading or not. At some point, most people are investing because they're investing to be able to spend more money than what they have now. You can't spend it by leaving it in crypto. Now, I have a different philosophy and a different objective, by the way. I'm not just trying to. P3d is a perfect example. He said he sold because he made money and he wanted to pay off some loans and that sort of thing. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. But some of us are looking to be able to transform our lives and our futures. It's not a short-term thing. I'm not looking just to pay off my mortgage. I'm looking to be able to invest in the space as a holder because I believe in the space. By the way, this isn't my only investment either. I also have other investments as well. But I'm holding, and it doesn't mean that I wouldn't sell, by the way. But the whole point is, as price goes up, it causes people to sell. That's what's supposed to happen. People only sell unless I was calling them whales, but basically they only sell unless they've absolutely improved their position. And what they do is they leave behind a little bit in the form of 10%. They leave behind a percentage of their profits back to everybody else who don't feel like they've gotten to the same place where they're ready to sell. So in an interesting way, there still is a incentivized an incentivized wealth distribution model even in P3d. And I think it's very interesting when you look at it from that perspective. And I think I've been when I hear things like universal basic income and wealth redistribution, those are not terms that are ever popular in my personal category. But if it's incentivized and people choose to do it by their own free will, now that becomes fascinating. So you're creating an environment where people will choose to give things, choose to be able to make these decisions. This is interesting. I mean, this sort of stuff is the stuff that long term could reshape society potentially. That's just, not all this is just my personal opinions. Now, let's talk about the current state of P3d. Fomo3d short, working as planned. Small pots, quick. The whole goal of Fomo3d short was to play for the pot. It was not to try to get a return. They said that from the beginning, from its inception, and that's exactly how it's working. It's very interesting. It's very fascinating. And oh, there it is. Let's see if it's short will come up. I don't know why. Oh, maybe. I don't know why it's not coming up for me on this computer, or maybe it's in this browser. I got my crypto browser up. Nonetheless, FOMO long probably working as intended. I think they would like to see some more action on this. But again, the developers have no way of knowing how people are going to respond or what they're going to do or how many people are going to play. So ideally, this could blow up again. We could get a hold on the market. We could see another, who knows? If there's 3,000 people in, that's just scratching the surface. If the right news story gets a hold of this and a lot of people see it, I don't know that that's a positive thing, by the way. It creates a lot of attention in the crypto space. And people are like, oh, wait until it hits the news. Just so you know, that might not be positive either. But if there's some catalyst to get a lot of people playing outside of, unwanted attention of any kind, that could potentially be good. Or if, some big influencers in a country like Korea or wherever starts playing and who knows, the right YouTuber says something and gets people interested into it, or the right article in the right magazine on the right website, it could bring a whole new set of potential players playing this game. And that could get fascinating. We could see another run up potentially. But again, who knows? The devs have no way of predicting it, and that's the wild card. People who are looking for some sort of consistent way to keep, I want to be able to know that I can get in every ICO phase and always get a return. I don't even think that's possible, because if anything gets big enough or popular enough, you're always going to hit a moving market. You're either going to have long phases of stagnation, or you're going to have quick phases that everybody can't get in, and it's going to be a crapshoot, just like it is right now on FOMO short. It's a crapshoot. They can come out with FOMO medium, F3D medium, and maybe it'll be beautiful for a while until it's not potentially. And again, Maybe the solution is have multiple concurrent games running at any given time. I don't know if that's the answer or not. But overall, the current state of P3d, it's working as planned. I made this diagram. This is beautiful. This is absolutely beautiful. So P3d price goes up and down. And I wish the price went up and down a lot more. Of course, I guess ideally it would trade sideways, but that's never going to totally happen. Here's what's interesting. FOMO long is throwing off P3d or Ethereum to the P3d contract. FOMO short is throwing off Ethereum to the P3d contract. This comes in the form of dividends. So someone said, oh, are we going to see, where's it at? Oh, are we going to, how low is this going to go? How low is this going to go? Well, a couple weeks ago, it was down here. Earlier this month, it was down here 4,500. That's 7,000. 6,000. So it's down to 7,000 earlier this month. Now it's at 57,000. Okay, is it going to go back down there? I don't think so. It could. That's not investment advice, but I'm just telling you my opinion. It could. I don't think it is. Why? More people know about it. More holders. The previous strong hand, some of them sold out. Crypto you already sold out for now. FatFIM sold out for now. Those guys may be back. P3d Heme sold a majority stake for now. A lot of people sold. Can you blame them? They made a lot of money. They sold. They doubled, tripled. They made divvies. They reinvested their dividends. They bought more tokens. They sold. Can you blame them? I don't think so. I don't think so. Am I planning to sell? Not today. Not for a long time. In fact, just before FOMO, I basically tripled my stake. And I plan to be buying in consistently starting next week. I'm going to be bringing in new money. I'm going to grow my stake because I'm watching what's happening here personally. This is me personally. This isn't for you. Don't make decisions based off of what I'm saying. Do your own research. Don't be one of those weirdos that blame everybody else because you lose money. And by the way, don't give anyone else credit because you make money. Follow your own advice. Follow your own research, your own gut. But a buddy of mine asked me, "What do you think P3d is going to be around a year from now?" I said, I think it's 50-50. I think it depends on what the devs do and what the market does and what games come out. If they keep coming out with things like FOMO quick and the community doesn't like it, interestingly enough, I think there's part of the community that does like FOMO quick. But if there's if they keep coming out with stuff and the community doesn't like it, I don't know. It's hard to say. But but you don't need a lot of FOMO. Look, if you just had multiple FOMO longs running or multiple versions of FOMO, even on links, if you have 4 or 5 different links of FOMO with different rules, then you're going to be constantly throwing off dividends. So there's several reasons why I don't think this will drop but so low. I think there's a lot more people in the game, so I think there's going to be that many more people holding the token and just refusing to sell. The other thing that's happening is there's upward pressure that we've never had before. So even if the token price goes lower, all that means is these games throw off the dividends that they're throwing off more. There's less people holding tokens, so there's going to be, because there's less tokens when they're sold. Remember, every time a token is sold, a certain percentage are burned as well, so there's less tokens. So the current holders are getting more rewards. That prevents inflation and deflation. So F3D is going to keep throwing off. There's this upward pressure. That's why I put these down below. There's this upward pressure on the Ethereum in the contract, which just means there's going to throw off a bit more reward. So at some point, we may not have the same type of stagnation that we had previously. It remains to be seen, but we may not have and even if we do have a little bit, I believe there's going to be future games or exchanges or software or services that's going to be putting upward pressure on the Ethereum contract. And I think that's going to, on the P3d contract, by pushing it up with additional Ethereum rewards or dividends, whatever you want to call it. Push it, just like F3D does and F3D long and short does. So I don't think we're going to see 4,500 or 4,000. We may not see 5,000. I don't know how low it's going to go. But I think this sort of stuff just bodes well for P3D long term. So what's my outlook? I just told you, I'm still going in. I'm still holding long term. And it doesn't mean I won't ever sell. Don't ever think that I won't ever sell, because I promise you I would sell. But I'm a net holder, and I think I'm a net holder for a long, long time, I think. And I also got to tell you that, I say I think because you never know what you're going to do, but I got to tell you, I don't, unless it looks like the P3d as an ecosystem is not going to make it for whatever reason, that would cause me to probably sell P3d tokens. But my current plan is not to sell any of the tokens I currently own or I'm going to be buying over the coming weeks. My current plan is not to sell any of those tokens, any of them. That's my current plan. I may withdraw dividends, and right now I've only withdrawn dividends for gas, but I may withdraw dividends. But my current plan is not to, and I would be withdrawing dividends basically to diversify in the crypto space. So the crypto space, for me right now, it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, and P3d. That's my journey. That's where I'm at. I do believe in this space. I believe where it's going. And, you know, all the negative reaction from these YouTubers, people getting upset, like they owe them something. And Crypto Yardy's talking about, you know, how bad he felt. And listen, now, as a viewer and a fan of these guys, I saw their YouTubes and I was like, wow, Crypto Yardy sold. I mean, it was a shocker to me. Like, it was a shocker. But it wasn't because he didn't have a right to sell if he wanted to sell. I just thought that he was going to be a little longer term holder. Long term. Like, I thought he was going long term. But everybody's got to make their own decision for themselves. That's the fact that he sold, the fact that FAFIM sold, that tells me this whole ecosystem is working exactly according to plan. It cannot be made up of people that are going to be long-term holders. That can't be the majority. There will always be a core group of holders long-term, just like there's a core group of holders in, you know, Coca-Cola stock. They don't buy and sell. They've been holding it for decades. I believe P3d is the thing that you're going to see some people, if it continues to function as an ecosystem, I believe you'll be seeing people hold it for years to come. And hopefully, tentatively, I'm going to be one of those people. But with that being said, and I say that saying, don't ever think that I wouldn't sell. Don't ever be under the assumption that I wouldn't sell. You'll get your feelings hurt thinking I wouldn't sell. But currently that is not my plan. And by the way, just so you know, I was in this thing below 4,000 too. And I rode it all the way to 20,000 back down, rode it back up, and decided to go back in because I thought, I was hoping that, I thought it was a real possibility that Fomo3d would be a little more popular. And you know, unfortunately it's not. But now to see that it's still rolling along and people are still playing it and it's small jackpots in the, you know, tens of thousands instead of the hundreds of thousands, I think that's reasonable. I think there's a place for a short game, and people keep playing it. That's beautiful because they keep throwing dividends off. And the fact that people are selling P3d tokens means that the percentage of dividends that it throws off to the current holders, that's beautiful, beautiful. But thank you so much for watching. This video has been long enough. These have been all my thoughts since this thing launched and where it went and what's happened. I've covered where I plan to go in the future with this, my current plans, what I think about the future. Overall, I think Team Just is awesome. By the way, I have no hard feelings against Crypto Yardy, FAFIM, P3d, none of those guys. They made their own decisions. I believe they'll be back. There are total opportunists out there. And I gotta tell you, I mean, I don't think it's wise to, if they plan to come back, I don't think it's wise to sell. And I can do a whole video on this, but listen, you've got almost 30% from the time you buy, sell, and reinvest. So in order to make a profit, if you're planning to come back in, you got to make a profit plus 30%. Because by the time you sell, you know, you lost 10% coming in, you sell, you lose 10% of that, and you come back in, you're losing 10% again on your purchase. That's 30%, not 30% of an initial investment, obviously, but that's a 30% in fees being paid. 10%, 10%. And then what people don't talk about is you're getting taxed when you sell in your respective countries. You're going to get taxed every time you sell. You're creating a taxable event. So it is not conducive for people to sell and come back in, sell and come back in. I mean, that's just not conducive, but people will do it. I don't think that's a smart play. If you're looking long term to do something here, I don't think this is a part of your crypto portfolio you should be selling out totally. I understand that people sell out and withdraw dividends, and I understand that people, you know, sometimes have bills they got to pay or whatever. I do get that. I get it. I understand. I fully understand. However, that's not the most, this product is not the product that you should sell out of. So future of P3d, I think, is probably going to be incredible. I'm still extremely bullish, optimistic on this. That's not financial advice. That's my personal opinion. Thank you so much for watching. You have officially watched one of my longest videos. If you made it this far, man, you are a trooper. Do me a favor. Go down in the comments and give me a thumbs up. Go down in the comments and say, I watched the whole thing, and tell me what you agreed with or didn't agree with. I would love to get your feedback. And it lets me know where my subscribers are, because I kind of think my subscribers and my viewers we're a smaller subset of the entire crypto space, but I think we tend to think a little bit differently than a lot of people out there, and I'd love to get your feedback. Thank you so much for watching. Have an awesome day, and let's look forward to a great week ahead in the crypto space.